I'm waiting for the Zoom, YouTube to connect.
The one that really matters. Will it work for you, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. We are on the record this evening. Mr. Jacobson,
Here.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Church,
Here.
Mr. Skips,
Here.
Ms. Clack,
Here.
Mr. Keller, and Mayor Welch.
I'm here, so we have a full house. Welcome back. So if we'll please stand in our place for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after the Pledge of Allegiance, the clerk will lead us through the pledge, but the invocation will be led by our Councilman Church. So please face the flag. We've moved the flag over here now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you please, if you'd like, bow your head for our publication.
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us here together tonight. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your strong words. Bless all of those who come to speak tonight, and bless our community members, especially those who are having a difficult time this winter and this evening. Take care of us and watch over us. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. We're going to go to item 4, an action item, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded. So the motion is made by Keller, seconded by Clack.
Move to amend,
State your amendment.
under new business, items D and E, move those to consent agenda items.
Second.
Please call that question, Madam Clerk, for the amendment.
On the agenda as amended, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Skips, and Mayor Welch.
Yes.
And this is on the agenda as amended.
As amended.
Yeah. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Skips, Ms. Clack, Mr. Keller, and Mayor Welch.
Yes. Anyone wish to change your vote? Okay, thank you. We have an amended, we have an agenda for tonight. Let's go to item 5, an action item, approval of the minutes from the February 20th, 2024 meeting.
Move to approve the minutes from February 20th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Skips makes the motion to approve, Clack second. Any discussion on the minutes? Any changes? Madam Clerk, call that question.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson, Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, and Mayor Welch.
Yes. Thank you. So we now have the minutes adopted. Congratulations for that. Item 6, communications from the mayor. Well, thanks for putting up with my absence. I had left here December the 19th or so, or December 20th, whichever day you want to count. And I finally got back in the saddle here last week on Tuesday. The doctors gave me provisional coming back to work, but not to exceed 5 working hours in one stance. That doesn't mean I'm just limited to 5 hours a day. It just means don't work more than 5 hours in any given time. So I think I can handle that pretty well. I'll give you an update on what I did do. I hadn't been out to the Air Force Base in exactly 3 months since the holiday party of November 30th. So I was there on leap year Thursday night. We had the Pacific Air Force's commander, who was just installed February 9th. And he was on a whirlwind tour of all the things in his command, and Eielson Air Force Base is one of them. So that's General Keith Snyder, his wife Lori. He's 36 years in the United States Air Force Academy graduate. And on his staff, he had with him a Major General, Brandon Parker. If I show you a picture of him, you would swear there's no way this guy was over 30. But young Academy graduate himself that graduated in 96 and is in charge on the general staff for cyber. So we had at the table, this was at the Yukon Club, and this was about a 2.5 hour dinner. We had Mayor Ward, Mayor Pruse, Mayor Dove from Delta Junction, myself, the general, of course, and his wife, Lori. They've been married 25 years. She was a medic in the United States Air Force. She was in the medical command, I should say. And quite a array of topics we discussed. Some of those you could imagine that they're still talking about housing, but that's not at the forefront right now. The mission is at the forefront right now. Whether we know it or not, we are on the edge of something very serious in this world. And for our Pacific Air Forces and all the partners in it, whether you're talking about the United States, whether you're talking about the Air Force, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Army, whether you're talking about Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Korea, we are in very serious role right now. And it's one of the topics of discussion that General shared with us. And one thing that occurs to me that would be beneficial for this body, this council, is to get scheduled up for you to have a command brief at Howard Hall. And that is something that I would have to coordinate with the wing commander, that you would have a briefing. And right now, Red Flag starts up in April. So I don't know if there's time to do it before the Red Flag start. But afterwards, come to me and tell me if we'll work it out amongst ourselves that you can get into Howard Hall. I would imagine you might make it on a afternoon, an evening, or a weekend, but we'll work it out. But I think everyone here would profit from being at a command briefing. And looking to me, trying to catch up all those things that were there. I'm trying to catch back up on. So I missed a lot of things in the last few months, but I'm thankful that the staff and the council carried on my absence. And I'm profoundly thankful to our pro tem for taking over my absence. So I'm trying to hang in there for the rest of my time. And I don't foresee anything at this juncture stopping me from continuing on. So with that in mind, I'll close the comments from the mayor and I'll turn to item 7, council member questions of the mayor, if there are any. Seeing none, I'll close that. Madam Clerk, we're going to go to citizens' comments, limited to 5 minutes per citizen. Do we have anyone for citizens' comments, Madam Clerk?
I think it's Bridget. Did you see Bridget? You're welcome.
Welcome, Bridget. Please sit down and tell us who you are and where you live and what we
Good
could do.
evening, city council members and mayor. We live at 360 Parkway, North
You could
Pole.
sign in too if you haven't
Yes,
already.
I
Thank-
did.
And tell us your name for the record there.
Bridget Vaughn, and this is my husband, Scott Vaughn.
Hello, Scott.
I really regret having to bring this to the city council because I know you have much more important things to deal with, but we seem to have a neighbor problem. And Mr. Hunter here and Jay can attest, because we're right between them, that this has been going on. But we have a neighbor that has some mental issues, and he gets really violent. I brought the show and tell in the box where
Where did
these,
the box go, by the way?
it's right here.
Okay. Does everybody get a chance to look in the box?
I think everybody looked at it.
Thank you.
But this
Thank
is some of the items that have been lobbed at our house. Our bedroom faces his home. This is Joshua Allen. And the other night, I heard a bang, it hit. My dog barked and got upset about it. And I went out and looked, and Then he threatened that he was going to harm my animal, my dog, who's also my service dog. And anyway, I just ignore him. I don't want to get into this with him. He does have problems. He thinks that we have paperwork that he thinks belongs to him, which we do not have. He goes stalking around the neighborhood. The neighbors have called the police department several times. I know Jay last year asked me to have him to see if I could talk to him about his music being so loud that it bothered a lady across the street from the railroad. And I'm sure Hunter sees his mess in front of his house. And I just don't think we need a junkyard in the middle of North Pole. And it defaces our property.
Who is Hunter that you're referring to?
Oh,
No, this is Benny Williams.
Oh,
I know
oh,
Hunter.
okay, well, that my mistake
I
then.
know, I
But
know where you're at though. I know.
okay, yeah, you know where I'm at. Apparently Jay said that there's another gentleman on the other side that has some problems too. So I just feel like we're surrounded and we need a little help here. If you have a nuisance committee or something that you can send in that direction to kind of tone these people down,
We do.
that would really be helpful. Cause it's just getting really bad.
How long has that been going on, Fred?
About 3 years now, three,
wow.
4 years that it's since he bought the house. I couldn't really tell you if it's been 4 years or how long, but it's been a long time. And he put up a tarp so that I didn't have to look at it because I threatened him before, told him that something needed to be done because he's a junk rat, you know, he's a hoarder. And he's got piles of garbage out in front of his house along with 3 unusable vehicles. He broke all the windows out of his house on a Tarrant one night.
What address is that one at?
Excuse
The
me?
address that he lives at?
Oh, gosh, what is it? Well, we're at 360, so he would be on Fennell, right?
either Fennell or Crossway.
Yeah, I think he's on Fennell because Crossway's a block over, so. But yeah, we're just a stone's throw from City Hall.
Yeah,
But we need some help.
Okay.
We really do. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you for bringing that to our attention. Before you leave, the council, anyone have a question for Ms. Vaughn? Thank you, Bridget.
All right,
Appreciate your
thank you.
testimony. We'll stay in touch.
That'd be great.
Madam Clerk, anyone else for citizens' comments?
And if anybody else would like to sign up to testify, you're welcome to after she does. Are you testifying to anything that's on the agenda or are you just open public testimony?
Oh, I am testifying on the art mural for the middle school art club.
Oh, were you going to stay through the meeting?
Yes.
Because the correct time to testify to that is when we bring it up on the agenda.
Oh, okay, never
But
mind.
if you were going to leave, I was going to not value your words.
Oh, no, it's okay. I can
Okay.
wait.
Thank you very much.
That will allow us to ask you questions because we
questions.
can't.
Anyone else, Madam Clerk?
Is there anybody else that would like to publicly testify this evening?
Welcome to introduce yourself to all of us. Come on.
Hello, Greg.
So, good evening. I'm Greg Corbett, recently appointed to the Planning Commission for the borough as your North Pole representative. So, part of that responsibility was Benny and Chandra. I'm a member of the senior center and they were looking for a participant. I guess it's been vacant for many years. So, in fact, I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock with some of the other newly appointed commissioners, downtown at the, borough office. So,
When did you start, sir?
yesterday.
Yes. Are they
Well,
treating you
I
good?
guess Friday.
Are they
But-
treating you good?
Yeah, what's that?
Are they treating you fine?
So far?
Yeah. That position vacated in November of 2019.
Yeah, and that's just going over some of the things. I've got a huge learning curve. That's gonna be, I mean, just the North Pole Planning Commission, and that's several years old. I see. So that's but yeah, it's thank you all for your confidence in me. I will try to represent, and if there's anything that you need me to bring to the borough, please do so. Any questions for me, Benny?
My one question is, this meeting is going to be once a month?
Their meetings are twice a month.
Twice a
It's,
month?
I believe it's the first and third Tuesday. I know I got the packet the other
Okay.
day, and so I know the first meeting is the 12th, and so that'd be the second, I guess. So I'm hoping, I go down for surgery on Friday to get my shoulder ripped out and put a new one in. And so I should be somewhat coherent by Tuesday. If not, I will probably do it just by Zoom if nothing else. So, okay, but I mean,
Mr. Corbett, thank you for volunteering to serve on the Planning Commission to represent our community. When we had a chance to interview you for that position, you come with great enthusiasm and qualifications and interest to help. So thank you for that.
thanks, Jeff.
And I'd like to thank you. You probably had to fill out an APOC.
I did.
And that's what stuck. When people saw that
Talk
they
about
had to,
confusing.
Yeah. when people saw that was part of what it took, they said, I don't want this. I
Yeah,
don't know what I was
so,
thinking of. And they
yeah,
backed
but-
out because of that reason.
I have not
Yeah.
hide. So, I mean, there's skeletons in the closet if you want to dig, but
But it's a big endeavor, but it's good to have you there because I know you're a known quantity. I know your quality. And I've known you, no reason to not disclose that I've known him through the Knights of Columbus for a long time too.
yeah,
So
you brought me in, so.
sure did.
So,
So fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of
welcome.
it. Anyone
Anyone
else?
Well, I just want to thank you very much for stepping up and serving our North Pole area, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Well, it's nice to see some familiar faces, so.
Yeah.
Larry, I know your dad, so, and, Mr. Keller, Mr. Skips, suppose we'll get to know each other over the next few months and years, so. Okay.
And I like to say, with this new position, if you run into any problems or anything, I'm pretty sure us up here would give you a hand and help you out.
Okay.
Because you know how I am, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Very hands-on.
Very hands-on.
Greg, I forgot to ask you earlier. Are you related to Jennifer Corbett?
No, no,
Okay.
no, there's no other, well, other than my two sons and grandkids, so, but no, we have no other relations up here.
I had a sixth grade student named Jennifer
Oh,
Corbett, so
okay.
that was an unusual last name and I was just connecting the dots.
Anything else?
You were an instructor with the Air Force ROTC unit.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah, that's, it's
Right.
been 40 years in uniform, with,
Long time.
yep. Probably the best job I've ever had.
Just thought I should mention that for those who didn't know. Appreciate your service. Well, I'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for stepping up.
Any other citizens' comments, Madam Clerk?
I have nobody else for citizens' comments.
Seeing no other, citizens' comments are now closed. And now we push on to communications from department heads. Danny, you want to go first?
Good evening, everyone. This month marks the closeout of our Moose Creek project. This is the final month of the Air Force support to that project for the water utility. And as of the 31st of March, the construction portion will close and the city of North Pole will assume responsibility for the infrastructure associated with this $45 million project. The project began in 2018 after PFAS contamination was found in well water in Moose Creek, which is 5 miles southeast of here. The city agreed to supply water from our system, and after almost 6 years, the project is concluding. Right now, we're working on closeout documentation and final billing for both the city and the contract activities. On March 28th, we'll have a closeout meeting during work hours with Respect, who is working as a project management portion, and Mayor Welch will be part of that meeting. But the bottom line, things are where they need to be for this project. We're confident that it's going to be successful moving forward. But this is the final month for that project. For Public Works, this week we're begin interviews for hiring for a Public Works assistant hiring list. And we're actually not going to hire somebody on the spot, but we'll establish a list, sort of like the fire department has a list of individuals that are eligible for hiring. We do anticipate potentially one upcoming vacancy, but we're not sure when that's actually going to happen. And we'll interview 4 individuals this week for that position. Our HR chief, Maggie Kimmel, has been really helpful, and we really appreciate the help on organizing the effort and ensuring we're conforming to the city code. On another note, for Public Works, given the lack of additional snow, the Public Works Department has focused on ensuring streets have sand and gravel applied at icy locations. They've also worked on routine vehicle and equipment maintenance and some interior work. Those of you that walk by the HR door, that's some of their work that they're doing to upgrade some of the interior of City Hall and other tasks. For the building department, no change right now. Again, this is the sort of the calm before the storm. We still see activity over at the old Pizza Hut building, and that they are conforming to city requirements for that. And certainly as we move into the spring, we'll see an increase in building applications. For utilities, last week's water break in the Ford subdivision, which was near Fifth Avenue and Rosslands Crossway, has been fixed. Those of you many of you may or may not know that there was a water leak in that area. These do occur sometimes during the winter, and unfortunately during the winter, fixing is expensive due to the frozen ground. Although the city does not charge for its time to repair this, we don't charge for our individual time. And if the city's doing the work on digging and some of the other things, we do have to charge for if there's a leak for the service line, if we have to do hydro excavation or other types of maintenance issues or digging in the area to identify a leak and to repair a leak. Fortunately, this was resolved without additional damage to other property or city infrastructure. This was a service line leak. It was not on the city main, but it was a service line leak. On another note for utilities, we continue to advertise for a utilities assistant position, and this position closes on Wednesday, March 6th. This is an identified loss. We have an individual that is moving from the utilities department over to the police department, so we're very happy that we're keeping that person inside the city on the city staff. But for the utilities assistant position that's open, if you know of anyone, please contact us, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
I know we talked back in January about that happen and get taken care of while the contractor was picking up the tab and taking care.
The ones that have failed and the water meters that have failed, the contractor, it has been under contract and those have been paid for. The problem is that we've had 6 that have failed. Those have all been replaced and addressed, paid for by the project. It's just going forward, we just don't know the future. What we were able to do is we were able to buy extra water meters so that if actually I think we were talking about PRVs rather than water meters. We do have extra water meters on the shelf that we can put in there, but I think the PRVs, when we saw an issue with PRVs failing, and then those we had 6 that failed. Those have all been replaced or are being replaced, paid for by the project. And we actually we had got the project to pay for 15 more PRVs to have on the shelf. That won't pay for the labor to reinstall them if it's a problem, and we'll have to work that out with the homeowner. After March 31st, you're right. I mean, it becomes ours. So we have to, it's going to be tricky because things are going to break and we're going to have to work with the homeowners on how to address that. Technically, if after March 31st, if it's infrastructure that the homeowner is not the city water main, but everything else, that is the homeowner's responsibility. But again, we always try to work with folks and try to be fair on those.
Yes, please.
As far as utility hookups and signing for services, I'm assuming that would be mandatory as part of that project to provide safe drinking water there. Are there any properties, residences that are not hooked up to the utilities?
There were two, or well, there were a couple that never hooked up because there was no owner available and they did not meet the requirements, which includes electricity to the location and heating available in the location, or else they can't hook them up. And I say two, there were a very small number that did not get it hooked up, and we are still pursuing that. But there will be situations like this where if someone buys the property and if they do desire and they have the conditions met, we're going to have to work with them to figure that out. But as of right now, everyone who can be hooked up is hooked up to the city water. And if someone builds a house in the area, there's a city water main there. That's something, because it's outside city limits, that would be something that we would have to look at as far as whether we could legally tell them to, hey, you're right next to a city water main. I'm not sure we could actually do that as we can in city limits. If someone builds close to a city water main in the side city limits, then they are required to hook up to that water utility.
Wouldn't you be able to do it under the auspices of the grant requirements that the funding was contingent on providing safe drinking water to all housing? So any new housing that comes on board would be required under the grant conditions to hook up?
That I don't know. I mean, you could see scenarios where someone would just haul their own water, where they wouldn't require city water. I don't know. Certainly wells in that area are contaminated and the groundwater is contaminated. But we haven't had that situation happen, but I'm sure at some point it will, that someone will buy land there and build a new house. So.
Mayor,
Yes.
your closeout for Moose Creek is going to be on the 28th at 1. Correct?
I think so. I had to go back and look, but it does on the 28th.
And that's
Yes.
supposed to be in your office?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Would it be possible to attend that?
Yes.
Okay,
let's
thank
do
you.
that.
And I'll send meeting invites to everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask a question if anyone else has no questions for Danny. Danny, you tell me if this is an appropriate time, or if you're not prepared, we'll do it the next meeting. What would you share with the council, what we know so far through the Corps of Engineers and the monitoring of our 80 wells when it comes to PFAS, PFOA that's encroaching on our border here? I think this is very important for the
Well,
council.
I think what we know for sure, certainly PFAS, PFOA is certainly an issue for the interior as far as the plumes that come off of areas where they were used. So certainly Eielson, they have an extensive monitoring. The Air Force has established an extensive monitoring effort throughout the area, and they're monitoring what's going on. We haven't seen from the EPA an edict or from anywhere else an edict that says, hey, you must change your water services. You must stop using ground well water. So right now we are sort of in a monitoring the phase of this. We suspect that someday it's going to affect everything in the area, but we don't know that for sure. And the monitoring is what will tell us where the PFAS is. And sort of what needs to be done. We are in contact with the Air Force on a very regular basis. In fact, 2 individuals from Eielson Air Force Base toured our water plant on Friday just to exchange information. They wanted to see how we are set up, and if for some reason we had to start treating our water for PFAS, what our capabilities would be, how much space we have. So all of those contacts and all those discussions are sort of preliminary. Right now, there are wells in the ground that are monitoring for that. When they start to detect that, then we'll move to the next phase. And that for right now, we really do not know. But we have been through this before with sulfurine contamination from the Flint Hills refinery, and also more recently with contamination at Moose Creek. So we've sort of been through this before. I would say that this can be mitigated, and there can be sustainment of clean water to individuals that are in the interior, in the North Pole area. I think that can be done, but as far as how that would happen and if that needs to happen, we'll have to see what happens with the monitoring effort.
But I understand, and I bring it up because if the EPA should do something so draconian, but if they figures within the best interest of human life to go to 4 parts per trillion, right now it's 71 parts per trillion, which is an eyedropper in an Olympic-sized pool, by the way. 4 parts would be even less. If they go to that, then so the issue is where are we at in regard to the folks that live in Baker and in North Star subdivision, and then eventually the brand new areas that are Brookside Park and all, how much of the people that are on private wells would find, just like in Moose Creek, their private wells get shut down. So it's going to bear considerable watching. They already know the north, south, east, and west of this plume because we have 80 wells. What we don't know is how deep it goes. We know our city wells are, what are they, about 160 feet deep? Our city wells are pretty much protected. But like the well I sit on, 49 feet deep, may not be. So they're not just looking at north, south, east, and west. They're trying to see how deep this PFAS goes. And for those who want to know, we have I call it, lack of a better term, a vector analysis of where this plume is heading towards. So it's pretty much to Lawrence Road by now. It's going to bear considerable watching. So the sooner that I can make the council aware of it, the better prepared we'll be when that time comes. So it's going to take quite a bit of concerted effort to make sure we get the straight story on it and that we're prepared for it. Thank you.
And Mayor, the Air Force has said that they will provide an official update. They provided a letter that states this is the status of PFAS in the area. They are working on an update to that. There was testing that went on in December. There'll be periodic testing throughout this year. Like I said, I think as soon as they know, we will know, and then the appropriate actions will be taken.
The one piece of the puzzle we don't know is what the EPA is going to determine is an acceptable level. So anything else? Thank you, Danny. Appreciate your report. Madam Tricia, Madam CFO, do you want to go next? Tricia Fogarty, please.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a lot to report. Our finance department is currently very much focused on the audit prep. Starting next week, we'll have weekly Zoom calls with the new auditing firm outside of Juneau. There's a list of things that they're asking for, and one of the things was the related parties questionnaire. Thank you for getting those back to us today. And on Friday afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Clack came by, and I was showing her how to look at the financials, was going to have the financials sent out, and I found a problem with them. So it has to do with the accrued revenues. So something didn't quite click right. So I'm going to have to go reverse that entry and re-enter it. And I suspected I would have them out to you before the end of the week. So this is January. December, the numbers are still going to move quite a bit depending on the audit. So that's what I have.
How's it going so far with the new firm out of Juneau?
There's a lot of things that they're asking for because we're new to them. We have a secure site that we load our stuff in. They're asking for minutes, nothing unusual really. But they don't know the history of our city and whatnot. And I think that's what the walkthroughs are going to be, these weekly meetings of they've set an agenda of what we're going to talk about. They do have a student that works for them that's in the area. She will be here on site at some point to review things and report back to the folks from Juneau. So I don't believe anybody from Juneau will actually be here. It's their student that works with them that's here in this area going to the university.
How's it going in dovetailing with Altman and Rogers. Are they pretty cooperative? Did they get along?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, they're awesome. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, they're agreed to do a couple of the entries, the same kind that they did last year with the depreciation and the PERS, but I don't have the PERS numbers yet from the state. So once I get that, and they're really fast turnaround. They'll probably have it to me within a couple of days.
You think we're on track so that the new auditor knows that we have a requirement to do this by June 30?
Right, no, we've already addressed that, and
What's their take on that?
they think that it's very, very doable. And I just gave them the second meeting in June. That's what I told them they would have to present.
Right. I
So,
think it got lost along the way because who we were contracted with was overwhelmed by all the things that go on in this city. So June 30th this year is on a Sunday, and we get together again July 1st. So there's no big problem if they present it to us July 1st. We know that.
right, but I'm not giving them that
I
option yet.
know. Thank you very much.
We'll see how it kind of goes.
There you go. So if we, try to not have to have a special meeting and we can coordinate that and put that in our July 1st meeting, though, that's
Right,
always an
right.
option.
And then usually at that meeting as well, the second or the first meeting is when we do the health insurance renewal. So
Anything from Meritain on that or from Risk?
we started talking about it with them last week, and they gave us an overview of the history of this year. And we've got another couple meetings scheduled with them all the way through, I think, April. There's with April. So that they're just kind of looking at the history. They're getting quotes from stop loss.
Yes.
So
Maggie, may I ask you, are you tracking that with them? Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Good. Good. So, any questions for Tricia? Thank you, Madam
Thank you.
CFO. Appreciate it. Hey, Chief, we're not gonna let you out of here. You're the only chief we got here tonight. Chief Chambers from the Fire Department.
Good evening again, council members. Thank you for having me. Not a lot to report from the fire department. We are in basically operational mode. Two training classes that continue to go, EMT 1 and firefighter 1, with volunteers attending both, and our paid staff helping out with both of them. So that's going swimmingly, working with the chief on the apprentice program and getting that. We currently are sitting at 4 received applications and lots of interest from all over the place on that. Down in Valdez School District called and wanted information on it, but we really want local kids. Other than that, just what we have to talk about later on tonight. Is there anything I can give, any information I can give you? Yes, sir.
Just one thing. It's just a technical thing. It's curiosity, more on my wife's part than my own. We were coming up through Baker subdivision, her dropping me off here this afternoon, and engine 21 was going up Blanket Boulevard, and it has on the back of the truck 2 white lights. And I told her, I said, it's probably for people to find where to put their foot in the dark.
Mhm.
I think they run when the truck's running, is what I told her. She thought it was a distraction or whatever. It was like she thought they were reverse lights, but they're not on the bumper. They're facing
They're-
inwards. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're hose loading lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it had.
For
to have-
loading the hose bed.
Yeah, there you go.
They should have been turned off. But
Yeah.
I'll have a talk with some people about
21
that.
was, yeah.
Wasting
So I do
electrons.
pay attention to things. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Any questions for our chief? I don't see any. Thank you. So as we move on, we'll go to our clerk.
Okay, at the last staff meeting, it was approved having the polling location for the May 7th special election for the Fairbanks North Star Borough. It'll be here, and Maggie and I will do the 10 days early voting before that election. The League of Women Voters is having a April 26th meeting. It's just a community discussion to discuss the possibility of mail-in voting. Maggie and I will probably attend that just to get information. And I just put candy by your microphones, just to remind you guys to lean in and use those. Because it's very hard to hear on the audio YouTube when I'm doing minutes if you guys aren't leaning right in. And other than that, we're just staying busy in the clerk's office and
Well, it's going to take a while for me to get used to sitting back in front of a microphone. They started teaching me to be an orator when I was in 7th grade and I never needed a microphone. So I've never been able to whisper. So thanks for bringing it to my attention though, because I have sat there and listened and couldn't hear either. So thank you. The candy.
oh, I'm
Candy.
sorry. There is one thing I wanted to Benny. I've already talked to Benny about the borough assembly schedule changing due to the special election. So the May 2nd meeting for the Fairbanks North Shore Borough is now the 16th. And I printed the updated schedules for all of you.
Yeah, I think she passed one to everybody. Don't we already have one for everybody?
You should have.
It's just amended. It's just amended for the because of their special election, they had to amend their schedule.
Madam Clerk, may I make a suggestion to remind those of us to file our APOC forms if we haven't by next Friday, the 15th? You have a way of doing it online, or you can fax it, or you can mail it. But it's due March 15th, correct?
I believe everybody's complied.
I'm the one who hasn't because I've been out. I've been gone. Okay. Oh, yeah. I don't know who hasn't, so I don't get that list. I just know Mr. Griffin sent me a reminder from Anchorage to do that. So, our borough representative, any report? Who was our borough rep last borough meeting? Madam Clerk?
I don't think anybody attended since the last council meeting.
Okay. Was there someone assigned to, or did they not meet?
There was nobody assigned to the February 22nd meeting.
Okay. Thank you. We'll catch it the next time. So that takes care of items 9. Item 10, anything on the ongoing projects report? Probably not at this juncture. I will say, those of you who are inclined to do so, the Governor's Sustainability Conference will be at the Denina Center. It's always the same week in May, starting Tuesday, the 21st and ending the 24th of May. So if you are inclined to go there, I would say get in touch with the clerk and make sure it's in your budget, Madam Clerk, that they can go. I've been to 3 of them. The last one is the one that fell off the escalator, which started me down a slippery slope of losing my consciousness there for a while. But just avoid the escalator, just ride the elevator, you'll be okay. But and those who are looking further ahead into the summer legislative session with Alaska Municipal League, I believe it's in Kodiak this year in August. So I'll just bring that to your attention now. If you're inclined to go, it'll be in August in Kodiak, the Emerald Isles. Okay. So that's enough. So that's closed. We'll go to item 11, the ordinance 2402. It's up for its second reading tonight. Is that correct? Unfinished business for the apprenticeship.
Correct.
Does our chief need to come back? Or does anyone need to come back and discuss
No.
that? Nope. So we're all set for that. So we're talking about apprenticeship for a new category of employee.
Public testimony?
Yeah.
Public testimony, anyone on the public want to testify or make comment? Seeing none, public comment on that item is closed.
Move to adopt ordinance 2024-02, an ordinance amending the North Pole Municipal Code Title II, Chapter 36, Section 050, Categories of Employees Apprentice.
I'll second.
So motion made to advance it by Jacobson,
Adopt
seconded.
it.
Wasn't it already adopted?
No, it's
It's
been
advanced.
advanced to tonight's
Oh, it
meeting
has
for
been? Okay,
adoption.
okay, all right. I thought it was advance and adopt is what we're supposed to say, aren't we? To advance and adopt it?
We advanced it last meeting and
meeting.
now
Okay.
tonight we're adopting.
All right, so we adopt it tonight and it's seconded by Williams. Any discussion on this ordinance? We discussed it in the committee of the whole. Madam Clerk, call the question.
Okay, on ordinance 2024-02, Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Keller, Mayor Welch.
Yes. Anyone wish to change? Seeing none. Ordinance 2024-02 has now been adopted. Thank you. We go to items 12, new business. Ordinance 2024-03 to amend the compensation for council members. Madam Clerk?
I have nobody signed up for public testimony. Is there anybody here that would like to testify?
So seeing none, public testimony, and that's closed.
Move to introduce an advanced ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the city of North Pole, amending the compensation for council members.
Second.
Okay, the motion made by Jacobson to advance it and seconded by Clack. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend line 25 where it says for each council meeting attended, and I'd like to insert the words in person or virtually. And then also on line 29, the same thing, council members attending in person or virtually, even though it's implied, I think, for future council members, having things very clear takes away the gray.
And one reason I'll concur with that is that I actually attended something not high tech, but back in 2014 from Juneau, I was sent as a pro tem on behalf of the mayor, and I called in, but they said it didn't count. So I'm down there TDY on behalf of the city, like a lobbyist for the city, and yet it was as if I hadn't even been here at the meeting. And if some sort of language had been there, that would have been understood that I was representing the city, even if it was on a telephone line. And now today we have a way to appear.
What was the second line you wanted amended, Jeff?
27?
29, where it says council members attending the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly meeting. So it'd say council members attending in person or virtually the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly meeting.
Okay, so I've saved that in two different places. Jeff, you made that motion?
Yes, waiting for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Williams. Any need for further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, call the question.
On the motion to amend ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the city of North Pole amending the compensation of council members. Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
and Mayor Welch.
Yes. Anyone wish to change?
On the ordinance as amended for advancement, Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
No.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson, Mayor Welch.
Yes. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none. What's the results, Madam Clerk? 6-1?
6-1, yes. And it advances.
And it advances to the next meeting on March the 18th, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and the next item, it was noticed with the title in time, so we can't speak to your memorandum of understanding, Chief.
Say that again, Madam Clerk. Repeat what you just said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the item D, B, request to council sign the memorandum of acceptance to the firefighters grant. That was noticed, publicly noticed. I did get the title out so we can speak to this. Chief can speak to
Go
this,
ahead, Chief. You got it.
and it's on the screen.
Okay. So this is respectfully requesting participation in a regional assistance to firefighters grant that's being done through the efforts of the Alaska Fire Chiefs Association. It's spearheaded by Capital City Fire and Rescue with a total of 14 departments participating. The grant is totally all said and done just a little bit under $2 million, like right at the hair of the threshold of what would qualify for a regional grant. It provides a whole bunch of radios for a whole bunch of departments that are probably very much needed. Doing a needs assessment for the City of North Pole Fire Department at the direction of Chief Heineken, identified 12 radios that we could definitely use to replace. This is, in our opinion, a good use of leveraging funds by the contribution rate, because it's a 90%, 10% match grant, 90% funded by the federal program. These radios have gotten outrageously expensive to be compliant with everything they have to be compliant with nowadays. And we're looking at about $8,500 for one portable radio. So for a shade over the cost of one radio, we can get 12, which is pretty doggone good deal in my book. So if there's any other information I can give you, yes, sir.
Deputy Chief, are these the Alamo radios?
Yes, they're the Program 25 ALMR radios.
Okay. And for those who don't understand what that is, could you explain what those
Yeah,
are?
I'm sorry. ALMR is a radio system that is currently, it's a digitally trunked system that allows for interoperability in the case of massive crisis across the state. You can literally use these radios to talk from here to Juneau or from here to, and when they first came out, we did it just to do it, but nowadays, that functionality is good to have in the background. I think we've kind of got a little jaded and complacent over what can happen. But to have this functional and available for us, the way it was originally presented was, this is going to be DoD compliant. Everybody's going to be using the same radio system. That's kind of held true for the most part. There's some agencies that haven't really stuck with that, and that's typically the wildland side, but they do their own thing anyway. They're different. So, but yeah, that's how the system works. We've been part of it since the very beginning. It's how our dispatch center works. And everybody can communicate appropriately that way.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Chief, I have a question. Do we know of anyone in this region, any municipality or political subdivision that's adverse to this grant?
Sure. Salcha Fire and Rescue.
Fine,
Cost.
because they'll have to pay
Yeah.
the same as.
Yeah, and it's mostly dispatch costs. So there's always been held over our heads that there could be a cost for the ALMR system eventually. Typically, all of that upgrades to the infrastructure has always been paid for by the federal government, usually through DoD. Who's underwritten this whole thing. We keep waiting for that shoe to drop, and where there'll be a subscriber rate. There is one kind of an interesting side to this thing. The ALMR nonprofit organization that runs the Alaska Land Mobile Radio, that's what ALMR stands for, system, maintains a subscriber base, and they literally can turn off a radio. So when I had one that wasn't accounted for when I was at the city of Fairbanks, and I couldn't find this radio anywhere, and we have to do an inventory every year, and I actually had it turned off. It was Jeremiah's. Never heard the end of it. So yeah, it's an interesting stuff. Anything else?
Anything else for the chief? Thank you for the report.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks for filling us in.
Public testimony?
Any public?
yeah, is
testimony,
there-
Madam? I don't see anyone for, so we'll close that then. Madam Clerk,
Do we have a motion?
for the request to council.
Move to adopt or move to approve the signing of the memorandum of understanding assistance to the firefighters grant.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jacobson, second by Williams. Any more discussion need? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
On the on the request to council to sign the memorandum of understanding to assistance to firefighters grant, Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Turch,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson, Mr. Williams, Mr. Keller, and Mayor Welch.
Yes. Anyone wish to change? Seeing none, that's 7-0. Thank you. We have one item left. That's item C. Madam Clerk?
And do we have public testimony for this item?
Yes, we did.
Hello again.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Rochelle Velez. I am the art teacher at North Pole Middle and also the club leader. And so if you have any questions about me and the mural proposal from the art students, I'd be more than happy to illuminate any sort of concerns or any sort of questions that you may have.
Go.
Yes.
Have you had any citizens that come forward that are supporting you,
Only other teachers.
other teachers?
Yes.
Any groups that are against it?
Not that I'm
You're
aware
not-
of.
Not that you're aware of, okay. So I asked that for a specific reason, because last year a rumor came out and there was a group and they were all against it. And they didn't know, I don't know where they got this idea that we were just gonna throw some sort of, I don't know what you would call it, like murals, and more than murals, worse than that, graffiti. Like
Oh.
they were just gonna paint graffiti and people were gonna come and try to recklessly abandon it, make it an eyesore. And I was not very happy with that characterization of it, especially something that's gonna be a quality product that you're gonna oversee and that the students are gonna participate in to actually bring attention to that eyesore and make it look nicer.
Mhm.
So, any questions for Rochelle, please?
Uh,
Mr. Jacobs?
Thank you for heading up this project and for being a teacher and working with our community youth. This has been a neglected building, and so it's exciting to see that this project will breathe new life and perhaps be the beginning of future public art displays. So I'm very excited about it. I am interested in knowing what kind of medium. Is it going to be oil-based? Is it going to be spray paint, kind of like you see some of the artists on sidewalks that do these incredible spray paint designs, portraits, things like that?
Yes, of course. So often most outdoor paints and media are either latex or oil-based. I will have to do a little more research and I would also like to know what type of material is on the building in order to understand like what will be best used and what will stick to the building the best. I would like to use some spray paint, but I will not do it if it was windy, I would not do it. Also, I trust my students. I know who would be troublesome and who wouldn't. But if it is a concern, I could just do the shading with the spray paint because spray paint is really good for very fast shading. But also just regular paint or not regular paint, but like just flat paint that the students can brush on would probably be what is mostly used.
Okay, and you did have a question about what's on the surface of the building. There is a metal, you might say, flashing and it peels paint on.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to kind of play around with that because the paint will adhere to the building itself, but that metal trim above is very difficult for paint to stick on. So I think spray paint maybe would be more adhesive than something that would be painted because we've seen it just peeling no matter what we put on it. So
Okay.
just a heads up on that.
All right, thank you. That's good information. That might have to be left blank then, if that's the case.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
What mural did you have planned for that particular piece? And is somebody going to be outlining it first before you paint it, or is it going to be free hand or what?
So if I have submitted 3 different options that the students overall vote, we circled the option 1, students wanted that one most. I sort of had my students sketch what they wanted and we sort of collaborated on combining their unique ideas into these 3 mock-ups. So we would go out and outline it as a group one day and then fill in and paint it once the outline and the primer dried.
We did have a question on option 1. It looks like behind the cabin, the roof, there's a figure that's kind of up in the air. What is that? Is that a tree? It looks like it could be a person.
That is a tree. So I made these all in Photoshop and I was trying to get them sort of quickly, rapidly produced. And so I sort of, if you go into Photoshop and melt pictures together, it can come out a little funky. So that was a tree in the background. Yes.
Perfect. That answers our question and concerns. We didn't know what that mystery shape was.
I looked at it and I thought it was the guy down at the park in Fairbanks, downtown Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Chris family.
Yeah, that overlooks the river.
Yeah.
Michelle, I have a question. How are you funded, the art club?
The art club, students pay for that as a part of an art fee. So when they take my class, they have to pay, if it's a semester, $20, if it's a quarter, 8 something.
Can you meet the logistical needs to do this building? Do you have the funds?
We have the funds.
We have the funds.
We have the funds.
Thank you.
That was.
Sure.
Great partnership.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Fuller.
Oh, yeah,
Very,
of course.
very instructional to us. Thank you. Let me get back to where I was at here now. Just lost my place.
Need a motion, Mayor.
Need a motion to for the Old City water plant.
Okay. let me see
Move
if I can-
to accept the painting Old City Water Building, water plant.
I'll second that.
A motion by Clack to accept the request to council to paint the Old City water plant, and it's now seconded by Councilman Williams.
Any more discussion? No.
I
No.
see none.
Okay, on that motion, Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Skips, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes. Now, does anyone wish to change? I don't see anyone changing their vote, so that request goes approved 7-0. Thank you. Does that bring us to item 13? Council comments. Who's first, Madam Clerk?
And I just wanted to say, if anybody didn't want to stay for council member comments after commenting, you're welcome to leave after commenting. So let's start out tonight with Mr. Skips.
Okay, first off, welcome back, Mayor.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for filling in the mayor's absence. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
This Thursday and Friday, is the MAC Regional Basketball Tournament. It's going to be held at North Pole High School. The girls will be playing Lathrop at 5 o'clock. And then the North Pole boys basketball team will be playing West Valley at 6:30. There's another Monroe's playing Lathrop at 8. The winners of those games will play Friday. So the winner of the girls game Thursday will play West Valley at 6 on Friday. And the winner of both boys teams on Thursday will play each other Friday. And those are the seedings for the state,
Ooh,
for state tournament.
okay. Yeah.
And yeah, just keep praying for this warmer temperature. It's awesome. Thank you.
Next, how about Ms. Clack?
Welcome back, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Tonight was a very good meeting. I want to thank our young lady that's taking over the painting project. I'm looking forward to seeing how that project comes out. And again, pray for nice weather and safe driving for everyone.
And let's get back to Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you, Mayor Welch. It's a pleasure and a treat to see you back in the saddle and that you are recovering from your illnesses and time away from the office. And really, really happy to see you. And also just commend Mayor Pro Tem Chandra Clack. She really stepped up to the plate and spent a lot of time working with employees in your absence and keeping things running smoothly and attended a lot of meetings. And so I don't think we've had a mayor pro tem as active as perhaps she has been to keep things running. So I'm really proud of the work that this council is doing cohesively, not only this year, but in past year. A lot of good things are happening. The 2024 Arctic Winter Games begin on Sunday, the Matsu 2014 Arctic Winter Games. I'll be there for the opening ceremony on Sunday, and then I'll return again to Matsu on Friday night, the 15th, to attend the cultural gala and then the closing ceremonies on the Saturday, the 16th. The 2014 Arctic Winter Games were hosted here in Fairbanks, and I had the honor of serving as the host society president during those games, in which we had over 2,000 students across the circumpolar north, all the northern provinces of Canada. We had representatives from Greenland, from Sami, which is Lapland in Scandinavia, and then also Russia. It's a small geographic region in Russia that all share the circumpolar north, and so there's 20 different sporting events, from skiing, hockey, basketball, ping pong, volleyball, snowshoeing, dog mushing, biathlon, and then also the native games that we have that we see here with the Alaskan Native Arts competitions in WEO. So if you happen to be in that area, it's an exciting time that it's to see so many young people coming together. Many times it's the first time that they've traveled out of their community, let alone into a new country.
Yeah.
And even though they have different languages and cultural backgrounds, they share something in common that is a very unifying and uplifting experience. We've had several of our Alaskan Arctic Winter Game athletes go on to become Olympic medalists. And so it is something that is of great value to our community, especially when you think that across the circumpolar north, it's a lot of small towns and villages that don't often have the opportunity to compete and develop their skills. And this brings this out in them. So so excited that the games are back in Alaska. They rotate through all the different contingencies, and so every 10 years it comes to Alaska. And who knows, maybe in 2034, North Pole might want to put in a bid to host it.
That would be a good one.
Since the borough just passed on it and didn't even give anyone the option to put an application, we'll have to make sure that they don't pull that fast trick next time.
Wow.
You don't mind if I mention that I have on my bookshelf your 2014 that you actually ran that show. It was beautiful. It was wonderful.
It was so
Yeah.
exciting. It
It
really
was.
was. Also, I think this, with having the Vaughn family come tonight, that we really need to activate our nuisance property committee. I don't think right now in the wintertime is the best time to take any action, but it might be something that, Mayor, you might want to speak to the police chief for them to perhaps pay a visit to the neighbor and say that if there are further complaints about vandalism, throwing items that are damaging private property, or violent threats against pets or persons, that, there'll be repercussions that might calm them down for a while. And then the committee can meet as far as taking action he has a trailer that was loaded with just junk, and all winter long, he's just put trash bags on top of it. And it's right there at the railroad crossings as you go across from Santa Claus Lane to Old Richardson Highway. And it needs to be addressed. And so I think they were very polite dealing with it, but this is an individual that needs help, and I think parameters put on his behavior so he doesn't harm anyone. And I think that's it. Thank you.
And next will Mr. Keller.
Yes, it's good to be back. I had to miss a couple just for family issues or family events.
Family vacation.
And that too. I was supposed to be back. Then I had a funeral I had to go to. And so I was home for like 14 hours and I had to get back on another airplane. Anyways, it's good to have you back, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, Mrs. Clack, once again, you did a fantastic job stepping up to the plate. So yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to have the sun. I think we're gonna miss the cold, maybe not now, but it's good to have the sun and the warmth. I do have one thing here. There is a community food drive, North Pole Community Food Drive, that is the third annual one. And here it's sponsored by the St. Nicholas Catholic Church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You have these flyers up, various businesses, nonprofit organizations. So if I could put one, you want?
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Put one up in the foyer or the doorway over here, if you wouldn't mind. Everything goes to the Fairbanks Community Food Bank. There's a silent rivalry between the different churches here in North Pole. I hear the Catholic Church had a thermometer in there that said "Beat the Mormons," and so as the food actually came into the church, they had the thermometer that they would actually like fill in. So I thought it was hilarious. So friendly rivalry to support this community because we know that this community has some hard times. Case in point, Mr. Rixey has spearheaded the small pantry that's in the park, the Terry Miller Park. I don't think we quite grasp how much homeless we have in this area, or the youth or the children that go without. It just it hits my heart a little different to know that I have kids in school that have schoolmates that don't have meals on the weekend. That's rough. So if we can do anything to help, this is one thing. And what better to get congregations together than to feed the needy and to help those in need. And what a wonderful season of time. So it's Easter time coming up. It's kind of crazy to think about, but what a wonderful time to get together and to rejoice. So, and with that, I yield.
I'll be happy to hang that up in the hallway, in the entryway. Next, Mr. Williams.
Am I last or,
No way how
oh,
you.
the mayor's last. So I guess I can't drop the mic this time. Right? I thought that's what she was gonna do, but that's okay. All right. All right. I like to, welcome back, Mayor.
Thank you, dear.
We missed you.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of rough sitting here by myself with nobody in this space, you know. Nobody to hit me and keep me square, keep me woke all the time. I just want you to know that, but thank you. I'd like to say a couple things in reference about, you know, us volunteering, like going down to, what is it, Fairbanks? I got some information, already got those from those guys, but I got some information about Fairbanks, and I think we need to participate more. I think we're going down there once a month to Fairbanks North Star Borough meeting, right?
Yep, that's
Now,
what you
we're
voted
going
on.
to stay the whole
Meeting?
meeting. That's another situation, but we have to talk to the mayor and see what he wants to do. Fairbanks Chamber of Commerce has 2 meetings a month almost. They have their luncheon and they have their monthly meeting. We got to start making those. I got all their things listed up and I'm gonna get with the clerk and give her the information, and we need to sign up for that. At least make 1 meeting. And if you can make 2, then make 2. But I know individuals have things to do and everybody's busy, and I understand that.
What is that?
No, this is the
He's talking about the chamber,
Chamber of Commerce.
North Pole Chamber.
They
Yeah,
got 2 meetings a month.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, North
Okay.
Pole Chamber.
Did I say it wrong?
Rixie, yeah, North Pole Chamber. Rixie would like to be able to see the chamber, our council, come out if we can onto their luncheons
Yeah.
or the dinner one that he usually does.
No more than 3 of you at a time.
Right, because then it becomes a meeting. Yeah.
Oh.
So what Benny's trying to suggest is that he's going to do a list just like we do with the borough.
Yeah, already got the list made up. I just got to get with my favorite clerk over there, and her and I got to put our heads together and make it work for us. Let me see, the last meeting I talked about certain things and things which I thought was very important. It says, the most important thing is to always tell the truth. You know, we have to do that. And we have to bring it to the people and make sure they understand that. Another one issue, and I can't remember, I'm gonna do better next time.
Which Bible that you read from?
Hey, this is a good book. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. I got it
No, it looks
covered.
nice. I'm just wondering.
Okay, all right. Another one is, this is very good. It says, don't let adverse facts stand in the way of a good decision. Okay, we have to remember that one. That's a good one. And there was one more issue, and I'm gonna do better by putting these down like Jeff did on his. There's one more issue I'd like to talk about, which was, the meeting. Oh, the utility course. They have a utility course, and I'm taking this course. I'm gonna tell you, that course has got it's got a wealth of information. And if we all take it, we can help Danny out more ways than one. They start the 7th. You put in for it. I'll be on vacation for 1 meeting. I already talked to him. I got it covered. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if we take that, there's some things in there that I said, I hit the answer 4 or 5 times before I got the right answer. There's a lot of stuff in there which can help us more ways than one. I'd like to thank you guys for helping me to get where I'm at. Of course, you know I got a long ways to go, right? If I make a mistake, tell me. I'll just turn around, fix it, and we'll move on, right? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We'll work together as a what? Team. That's important. And I know there's no I in team. It's teamwork, all of us. We have to pull together and make things work. We're not going to be we're not gonna take, what is the word? We're not gonna turn around and please everybody, but we gotta take care of everybody as a whole. And sometimes it's hard to do. Even when you're married in your home, trying to take care of the family, that's hard to do. That's all I got to say. I didn't drop the mic this time, so I'm good. They know what I mean. You wouldn't.
I have no idea what.
I know, I know.
Mr. Church?
I have nothing to add to all of this. Thank you for your comments. Get out and enjoy the wonderful weather and happy Easter.
And Mayor Welch?
Okay, well, if you had told me a year ago that I would have been missing in action for more than 90 days, I wouldn't have thought that was even possible. But I am happy to say that sometimes there's a silver lining so that you can't see something hiding behind a cloud. And for those who don't know, I'm just saying it out here publicly, the third time that I had a concussion was in my own house on January 22nd. And the good thing that came from that was to actually have my self properly examined in the emergency room of the radiology department. And that was at FMH. And that might not have happened had there not been a communication breakdown internally and externally between Tanana Valley Clinic inside First Care and with them seeing, hey, this guy really needs to have his head examined. Y'all already knew that. He needed his head examined, but we can't even send you what we have from our radiology. So I wound up in the ER radiology. And from that, I was led to a doctor here. I'll just sing his praises. Martino, didn't even know he existed. And he's a neurologist and he's with private practice. And he's 45 years in this profession as a neurologist. 40 of them spent right here at the Doolittle on 1919 Lathrop. He said he came up with the military. His wife and him had a choice, Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fort Wainwright. 40 years ago, they decided to come to Fort Wainwright, and they've been part of this community since. But he's been mostly responsible for me recovering since he took me on as a patient February 2nd. So I'm almost out of the woods. So I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for participating and showing that our democracy still works. It's not hinging on just one person being here. I wanted to say something about what I learned from being at Alston Air Force Base on Thursday night that really means a lot to us to consider. And that is we have held up a lot of people in their military careers because of political not diversity, but the opposite of that. They're how do I want to say it? I don't want to say subversives either, but this gnawing back and forth between the political parties. These poor military officers have been caught in the middle of it, and they don't know where to go. And they're sometimes not being promoted or not moving to their next assignment. And the whole thing is detrimental to the benefit of this country. So that's why I think it's important that as a council that I make an arrangement for us to get a briefing at Eielson so we know what's going on and we can become more accustomed. We sit in a really unique position on this council. Alaska statute defines for us that on this council, we are to be nonpartisan. We're supposed to be the grassroots. We're supposed to be able to represent anybody and everybody with nothing to do with party. So I just thought that that's a good position to be in. Okay. And so I felt really astounded by what I learned from a 4-star general, but also a 2-star general too on Thursday night, that they really are put out by all of this back and forth. They get caught in the middle because some senator or congressman decides that they're not going to approve, they're going to hold somebody's nomination up. And you may think it only affects one person, but it affects the whole chain. So while we're waiting for someone to become the commander of Pacific Air Forces, the one who's leaving the Pacific Air Forces couldn't go to the Aerial Combat Command at Langley Field, because he didn't have his replacement being promoted on time. It's just crazy. So they're really wondering why they do what they do. And I think 36 years is a lot of time to put into our military, knowing that the assignment you take could very well easily be another 3 years. That's a lot of time for someone to spend in this country. Talking about the elections and things, for those who know the difference, tomorrow there's a caucus at the Carlson Center, and it represents 6 districts up here, which is one of ours. We're District 33. And the thing about the caucus is, for the last 40 years, and I've been voting for more than 40, by the way, but just slightly more than 40. I've been voting since 72. But for the last 40 years, which would be the last 10 elections, only 6 Republican and Democratic candidates had won, went all the way through and got their party's nomination. But of all those, only 2 Democrats, which is Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, and 3 Republicans, George W. Bush twice and Ronald Reagan once, actually went on to become to be the president. So that's not always an indicator who's going to be the president. You hear a lot of things in the news today, but if you want to participate, is at the Carlson Center tomorrow. And that's a caucus there. It is different than a primary. So, but as a nonpartisan, I'm not registered. That's one of the first things I did, by the way, when I was installed as a mayor, is I went and changed my affiliation so that there's no doubt that I'm nonpartisan. Okay. So thank you for letting me have that say, and we're going to move forward and do better things here, close out this year. And with that, Madam Clerk, I'll say goodnight at 30.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Mr. Jacobson, seconded by Ms. Clack. We are adjourned at 8:29.
Thanks. Well, you know what they say over there at the wonderful world of KGMP. Oh, but Mr. Mayor, you usually go first. You heard what I told him when I was in there? I said, don't you know those who are first shall be last?